I always thought about harming myself.
I'm shy. I struggled with making friends.
I never thought I could do anything. I have extremely low self esteem.
Lately, I've been eating my pain away. Just throw it back up. I've been struggling to lose weight. Somebody said I don't fit in just because I wear my hair the way I like it.
1 out of 5 American girls suffer from mental health problems. Don't be that girl. Talk to someone.
Those thoughts I had are long gone, for I have a future I need to get to.
In order to get better, I had to do better. I learned how to make friends.
I believe in myself. That's when everyone else did, I set an example.
Instead of me eating everything, I started watching my calories. The weight is falling off. I wanted to change my hair, but I decided it was for me. It's for me.
A PSA from the Curvy Girl Project.
And good morning. Welcome to Expose on the Sun, sponsored by the Detroit Native Sun newspaper. I'm your host, Darwin Griffin, and we have a power-packed and encouraging half an hour that we'll be spending with you with my very special guests, Mr. Victor Walker and Mr. Curtis Johnson. But before we get started, you are watching Expose Under the Sun, sponsored by the Detroit Native Sun newspaper. And our calling numbers are area code 313-868-0342, 313-868-0351, and 313-868-4336. And you are watching us live from the phenomenal cities of Detroit, Michigan, under the auspices of the Honorable Mayor Mike Duggan, as well as the phenomenal city of Highland Park, Michigan, under the auspices of the Honorable Mayor Glenda McDonald. I don't want to spend any time because this is a very important topic that we're going to talk about. And the three of us are members of an organization called Building Black Brick Masters. And before we conclude this half an hour, you will be well acquainted with what a brickmaster is and what we want to make certain that we disseminate out to our viewing and listening audience, as well as to the public, because we've got a phenomenal program that's going to be coming up at the historical Shrine of the Black Madonna on the 20th of January from 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock. So it's something that you don't want to miss, but I felt that these brothers would come on and help to accentuate the positives, to make sure that everyone knows we are trying to make certain that we lift every brother in our community. As everybody knows, it takes a village to raise a child. And we know that there's a lot of black brothers that may be doing some positive things, as these brothers that I have with me today, as well as those that'll be on the panel. But before we get started, too, I also want to give a shout out to one of our other Black Brickmasters, and his name is Chris Rutherford. And I want you to keep him lifted up in prayer. You know, we want to make certain that when we form together, we don't let anything get us asunder. And we are all very spiritual, we're all very prayerful, and we all want to make certain that whatever we do, we're doing it for the love of God. But these brothers have been so dynamic. One is my fraternity brothers, Alpha Phi Alpha, and this other brother, I think that the things that I heard when I first met him that he's doing in the community is so positive, and I want to make certain that he gets his message across as well. So without further ado, my two fellow compatriot brickmasters, this is Curtis Johnson, and this is Victor Walker. Mr. Johnson, let's get started with you. Mr. Johnson is a chaplain, which when I first met you, I did not know that until I talked to Mr. Keith Bennett, who had mentioned to me that you were a chaplain. And I was like, wow, my frat brother, and also he's a chaplain at the same time. But welcome to Expose Under the Sun. I'm going to ask you, what brought you into the Brickmaster fraternity, as we want to call it?
Yeah, I was invited in, and at this time in my life, I only go places where I'm invited, and I only stay places where I can be useful. A brother by the name of Grover McCants, who is a good friend with Keith and Randy, well-known brother about town, was asked by Keith Bennett to actually be part of the panel that Keith, myself, Bishop Chewy, Randy Henry, and the brother Pastor Joseph Williams are involved of, and he told Keith, I can't make it, but I'm going to send you someone who would be very helpful to you, and that someone, was me. So I'm blessed and honored and glad to be a part of the Brickmasters. As being an entrepreneur, as being a native son of Detroit, public school educated, being a Morehouse man, being a member of illustrious fraternity, that being Alpha Phi Alpha, being a deacon at church, being a chaplain, and being very intentional of the needs and the requirements of being a strong black man, to be able to bond together with other black men and come together and be a part of the solution. I jumped at the opportunity because, those who are blessed with a lot are responsible for a lot. And being a businessman, I got to pay a toll. So, I don't go out there looking, applying, and running for stuff, But if something comes my way that's worthwhile, obviously, as this organization is, I'm going to take full advantage of it and, provide the leadership skills as required. Mass shout outs to my classmate Ruddy, Get Well, Chris Rutherford. I love you, brother. We love you, brother. And it's intentional. And it's just good to know that people are thinking and praying about you at all times. And that's what a true relationship, a brotherhood, can give us. And I'm just glad that Brickmasters provide that. And I know I said a lot, but, in essence, that's my spirit and intent for being here. And I believe it's marshaled and shared by many of our brothers.
Absolutely, absolutely. Victor Walker, let's hear your opening statement that you'd like to say.
So basically, my name is Victor Walker. I came into the Brickmasters organization based off of my affiliation with Brother Keith Bennett, as well as Brother Cardinal Chewy. Both of these guys have played very instrumental roles in my life, from my previous background as well as my current state of existence. So things we'll probably get off into a little bit later on during this conversation, but to accentuate basically what's going on with me and how I became a part of the Brickmasters was the fact that Brother Keith Bennett is very familiar with myself and my wife and my family. And because I would say that we display somewhat of a very powerful connection to not only our neighborhood and our community, but the fact that my wife and I, we have a very positive relationship when it comes to raising our children, when it comes to our connection to the community, when it comes to the work that we do as a whole. And Alicia Walker, White Walker, or definitely want to give acknowledgement to her.
Don't want to get in trouble when you go home.
Ain't no doubt about it. But so to make a long story short, I returned home. I'm a returning citizen, and I came home back in 2018. And like I said, during the time that I was away, I met Brother Cardinal Chewy, Bishop Chewy on the inside, and he gave me so much insight. And he was one of those individuals who helped me to rebuild my life in such a way that it made me and encouraged me to want to assist other brothers in that regard. So when I did finally return home, so because of my affiliation with these brothers, it has given me that much more of encouragement and incentive to help rectify some of the things that I rightfully destroyed. Just being, straightforward. And so when I came home, what I decided to do was, take up a trade. And when I took up that trade, I ended up running into Brother Keith Bennett, and he was so open to assisting me and to rebuild my life that he and I, really, really gained a very strong connection. And because of his walking alongside me and giving me insight along the way, we built this relationship, and I became more, again, instrumental in my community, in my family, and, in business. Everything that I wanted to be, he assisted me in doing that. And so when the Building Brick Masters organization came to be, I hesitated not one bit to become a part of it.
Well, and that's the thing I just wanted to say real quick,
Sure,
Curtis, is that it's important that he walked along with you,
Right.
as opposed to walking in front of you
Absolutely.
or walking behind you.
Indeed.
And that makes a difference. I'm sorry, Curtis.
No, not at all. And the beauty of it is, because we're just assuming that everybody knows us, everybody knows our life story, and everybody knows like Brick Masters, like it's been established since 1906. No, this is very, very new thing. But brothers like Keith Bennett, brothers like Bishop Chewy, through Flip the Script, which you were part of, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, they've been kind of doing this, and we kind of got together and did it. I mean, it wasn't any. I mean, our third meeting is when we even came up with the term building and the logo. I mean, we're just working on the website. So this is new dynamic, and it's just brothers getting together that some of us was already doing the same things, reaching back and reaching forward, as you just said.
And that makes a difference because we were doing our own thing.
Right.
Calvin Mann, with EMIY.
Courage
myself,
Me, I'm Young.
Right. And others were doing so many different things. Damian Johnson in the classrooms with
Jackson,
GPS schools,
Jackson,
in the
yep.
classroom. So we had so many people that
Derek
were doing their
Atlas
thing.
coaching, got
Derek-
people playing
Derek
on
Blackman,
Sunday.
Derek
Yeah.
Atlas. I mean, we
we
so
met
many.
at Blackman's Place.
Exactly. And so that's the important part that we're really looking to do, is to make certain that we took all these different bricks and we bonded them together.
Sure.
The spirituality is what keeps us together, our spirituality. The bricks are our character. And that's the character that we disseminate out to others through what we did individually and now what we're doing collectively.
Absolutely.
And the biggest thing right now is that we are bonded together, and God is the master builder, that's putting us all together. He's the one that has the trowel and makes certain that this foundation is going to be one that's going to stand steadfast throughout the test of time. So that's going to be the critical part, right there. But let me just ask this in terms of, say, Curtis, I know you've been with this from inception, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
But now tell in terms of, say, what is it? What is the objectives? What is the mission now of building Black Brick Masters?
Well, it's dynamic, it's organic, it's intentional, and it's welcoming. None of us in Brick Masters have all the answers, but we know who can help us, and for me, that's Jesus Christ. Okay. And that spirit permeates around us, and at the end of the day, it gives us what we need. So these meetings, as you mentioned, at the Shrine of Black Madonna on January 20th at 11 a.m., get there early, is so we can reach out to our communities and find out exactly what people, Black men, need in various stages of their life. And who do we have already on the group that can assist with that need? And then these grants, these fellowships, these well-doers, not the naysayers, but the well-doers, we're going to connect with them because our relationships need to be monetized to support this group.
So now let's talk a little bit about the groups. So now we're going to have, I know we did one last year at the African American Museum. And there were different groups. I think we had millennials,
Right,
you had the
right.
baby boomers,
Right.
you had the Gen X's,
Yeah.
Gen Y's.
Sure. So let's circle back a little bit. And I don't want to minimize it and marginalize it because I can see God in the midst. But this whole deal started with, a dare or a barbershop. you know, a barbershop locker room,
Yeah.
basketball, you know, whatever, you know, somebody older say something to somebody younger, and it's like, you know, I mean, I give you the funniest thing. And, you know, a guy that worked for me, I used to always get on him. His name was James, but his nickname was Stank. And Stank always wore his pants low, and I used to say like, Stank, why you always wear your pants low? And he had to work for me. He worked for me, so he had to get it together. Sure. But one day he clapped back at me, and we had that kind of relationship. I got love for my guys, and he said, I said, man, why you always got to wear them pants low? And he said, it make me feel comfortable. I said, okay, whatever. And then he looked at me and said, and Mr. Johnson, why do you old men always wear y'all pants to y'all chest, to y'all chin? So in essence, you know, I don't want to digress too much, but in essence, sure, it was like, you know, young guys, why do you do this? Sure. Old men, why do you do this? And then collectively, you know, how do we do the things that we need to do? That's the spirit and intent of this, and that's how this thing started. And Brother Bennett, with his leadership, and everybody else with their willingness, got in the room and said, let's figure this thing out. And let's not leave until we got something done. And let's not leave until we decide when we're going to do it again. And as my dear brother Damien said, this ain't going to be no million-man march where, you know, at the end we feel good. You know, everybody gets a participation medal. And we go back and, you know, it's like Groundhog's Day. Indeed. You know, and you know, and I'm big and bad enough. I say what I want. Everybody know where I live at. My place is on Grand River. If you don't like it, we can have a conversation. Sure. You know,
well, you bring up a good point, and I do want you to mention. I mentioned that you're a chaplain.
Yeah.
And you've got businesses along Grand River right there in the Rosedale Park area. And then I would be remiss, Mr. Walker, if I didn't let you mention the business that you have. You've got a...
And please tell us how you got there.
Okay, sure. So going back, you know, I guess we can just jump straight to it. We don't really have to worry about questions in regards to leading up to that. So born and raised in Detroit, graduated from Central High School, went away to college for a minute, came back, had a child at a younger age, so my responsibility was a lot different than that of my peers. Fortunately, yet unfortunately, you know, made some mistakes in my past, which ultimately caused me to take a different road, and I ended up going to prison for a certain period of time, specifically, respectfully, 18 and a half years.
Let me ask you a question. Then. Let me ask you a question.
How long,
so,
sir?
18 and a half years.
Did you have a mom and dad in your life at the time, or was it just one parent?
So I grew up with both of my parents. I grew up with my mother and my father. They were very encouraging towards going to school and getting an education was paramount in my house. It was no ifs, ands, buts about that. And even at a certain young age, me specifically 12, you're going to learn to do something that's going to help you to provide for yourself. We're going to give you everything that you need, but you also not going to be a poor hustler in our house. You're going to make something out of yourself, and you're going to do something. So the route I chose was I did develop the skill of being a barber. So I made extra money on the side in that regard. I even sold candy. I did everything that I possibly could to minimize the burden in my parents because I had 6 other siblings. Nevertheless, because of the route that I chose and because just being straightforward, I was one of those type of individuals that was very ambitious and I wanted certain things in my life. My mother then would buy me anything. Nevertheless, it was one of those situations where, again, I didn't want to be burdensome. And when my son was born when I was 15 years old, so I had my child very young. But still at that age, because of my upbringing, I was very responsible. I was still too young to actually get a real job. So with my quote-unquote hustle skills, I chose to do as much as I could in that era. Nevertheless, it progressed from positivity to, unfortunately, negativity. I started getting off into the streets. I wanted fast money. And when I came back from college, I decided that I would take on the streets. And as a result, I placed myself in a situation which ultimately led me to prison. And while I was actually incarcerated for a crime I didn't commit, I accepted the fact that the circumstances I had placed myself in allowed for those things to give rise to me going to prison for such a long time. Now, I wasn't always in that frame of mind. I was always in the mindset of blaming. That's one of the first lessons I had learned while I was in there. I was always blaming people for my shortcomings. But after doing a little bit of soul searching and, gaining insight from the things that I saw around me and realizing that it was not going to be an easy road where I was just going to come in here and, as the old heads used to tell me, man, just file an appeal and get out. It wasn't that simple. And so I had to make some very difficult decisions and some significant changes in my life in order to become the man that you see here today.
And see, one thing I want to do, because I want to get the additional part of it when they come. This is the teaser to get people to come on the 20th to get more information about that right there.
And that's cool.
But give the name of your business.
Okay, so the name of my business is The Official Brands is a clothing company that I established back in 2020 with my wife during the height of the pandemic. We started off actually making masks for individuals because we understood that it was a very difficult time. No one knew what was really going on. All we knew is we wanted to protect ourselves. Okay. And because, we had limited access to the outside, it was, when we did get a chance to go outside, we wanted to be as protected as possible. And so I wanted to offer my assistance in that regard. And as well, because we were off from work, I'm an iron worker. So I was used to a certain amount of income during that time, and I wanted to supplement that because, no one knew what the future held. So, we began making masks. I made a little bit of money off of that, but what I noticed was that it wasn't just the mask. I was doing like custom masks. So I would put certain phrases and, inspirational quotes and things on certain masks, and I would do it from a Detroit perspective. And so in some way I was hoping to, encourage individuals because we lost so many people with so much stuff that was going on, and we didn't want our community to just fold. If we were going to go down, we were going to go down with a smile on our face, but also fighting. And so,
and that's the thing. Not to cut you off again, but the thing is that that's the whole purpose behind what we're going to do.
Absolutely.
Because we want to hear your story in its completion, your story in its completion, and other brothers' stories in completion. Sure. But a couple of questions I do want to ask you before we've got about 5 minutes left. Oh, wow. But okay. I want to ask you the question too. Now, what are age groups that we're asking to come out to this? Because I know we've got people from all different age groups that are going to be on the panel. Sure. But we're asking mothers to bring their sons, grandsons to come out and be able to listen to our stories. But at the same time, too, we want to make certain that this is going to be videotaped so that people can go back and let others know what we communicate to the people in the audience, that they can communicate back to people when they go back home. Mm-hmm. So the critical thing that I want to ask you too is that what really, and I'm going to ask you, Curtis, first, what is the positives that you want to come out from this meeting that we have for 3 hours on the 20th?
My prayer is that something is said that will be impactful enough that will change somebody's life, potentially save somebody's life, something that can help them with their spirituality, their finance, their health, and most importantly, I need for the general public to know that black brickmasters care about black men, and whoever. And you mentioned I'm a chaplain. Whosoever will, let them come, because as far as I know, everybody, had a mama and a daddy, and anybody from 8 to 80 should be able to benefit from something that's said from the individuals on the panel, and I can assure you that if you come, it's going to be dialogue. It's not going to be monologue.
And we're going to be talking with
ain't nobody
people.
Ain't nobody going to be.
There's no egos that we're going to worry about in the room as well.
Ego mean edge God out. We ain't trying to do that.
Indeed.
And now give Curtis.
There's no big eyes and no little U's.
Curtis, give the location, because I know we're at the
Shrine of the Black Madonna.
Give the address too.
It's on Linwood by Hogarth.
It's right there on Linwood at the corner of Hogarth.
Yeah.
Because I know we've got it posted up here on the, as far as on for everybody to see. Sure. But if you want, you can go to either my page, Victor's page, Curtis's page,
Right.
Keith Bennett's page, Damian Jackson's page, or whoever's page that's also on this, Randy Henry, and they can see more detail, more information, about it. Sure. Victor, I'll give you the closing
And spread
comment.
the word.
Exactly.
So as a closing comment, I would just like to say, we definitely appreciate all our viewers, everyone who is paying attention and becoming more involved and aware of building Black Brick Masters. It is a very positive and productive, and I might say efficient organization, but we want to be all inclusive as much as possible. And while we are primarily focusing our attention on black men, we want our black women and sisters to understand that they can be a part of it, but we want to be able to encourage the young brothers and build them up so that they could be better men, brothers, uncles, fathers, and other men for you guys. And so that's what our ultimate goal is.
Well, one thing that I think that you touched upon too is that it's critical because this is not going to be a one and done.
Sure.
This is going to be something we're going to continue to do. So those of you that come out to go and partake in our conversation with the brothers, is that we're going to have brothers that are going to be there to find ways to keep in touch with brothers that do come out. So we got to wrap up. This half an hour went by so fast. You've been watching Expose Under the Sun, sponsored by the Detroit Native Sun newspaper. Again, I'm your host. If you'd like to get a copy of the Detroit Native Sun newspaper, you can contact Ms. Valerie Lockhart, area code 313-457-5944. And if you'd like to advertise in the Detroit Native Sun News, you can contact her for the same reason as well. Again, want to hope that everybody gets a chance to come out to the historic Shrine of the Black Madonna, January the 20th, from 11 o'clock to 2 o'clock. Have a great rest of the day, and make sure that you let somebody know that you love them. Peace.
Amen.
Here at the Full and Fabulous Curvy Girl Project, we don't just focus on health, beauty, and self-esteem. We also offer an amazing summer program for young ladies ages 12 to 18. For more information, visit our website at fullandfabulous.org. See you soon.